Welcome to the Ascend Your Success podcast. Whether you're just starting out or are a veteran looking to grow your business, you're in the right place. Join us to learn how to achieve financial freedom while working and living life on your own terms. Hear valuable insights, strategies, and interviews with successful entrepreneurs. Get ready to achieve the success you've always dreamed of. Ready? Let's go.
What's going on, guys? My name is Wyatt Reed with the Ascend Your Success podcast, and today I get to interview my friend Travis Goodwin. Travis, I was just on your podcast not too long ago, and we were like, man, you gotta get on ours. So thank you for being here. Travis, tell us a little bit about yourself, like where you're from, what you do, everything like that.
Yeah, Wyatt, I appreciate you having me, man. I had such a good conversation with you on my show. I've been excited to get on here with you. So yeah, man, I'm a real estate investor, wholesaler, deal finder, whatever you want to call it. You know, I was born and raised here in West Virginia, up in the mountains, and I come from a background of not houses, but like delivering pizzas, working at, Dollar Trees, just, very low level income jobs. And, I found real estate, man, and it's just changed my life.
I love that. So how did you find real estate in doing dollar store and pizza delivery and stuff like that? Was there like I know I'm meant to do more, or like do you just see something on YouTube? What happened with that?
Yeah, man, I've always known that I was meant to do more. I've always had a great imagination. I think back as a kid, and I used to pretend I was in movies, and I always had an imagination. I always wanted more than what my life was at the time. I had a very good friend. His name is Chris Moore. He passed away, but he actually, he seen that in me. He seen that I had dreams, and he was like, Travis, I got a book for you, and you need to read it. And of course, it was Rich Dad Poor Dad. I read that book, and it just there was a seed planted. Then I started to get on YouTube. I started to search different things, real estate, owning houses, rental properties. Then I found the episode of The Breakfast Club. I don't know if you know what that is, but DJ Envy, and he was talking with this guy about wholesaling, and they were talking about how you could just get a house under contract, sell that contract, and I was like, man, this is my calling. Because, I'm not a guy that works with hammers and contractors. That's not my background, right? So that's how I found wholesaling, and I just started digging in, man. I started learning and just taking like massive imperfect action.
I love that, man. I've asked that question probably a million times, and I've never heard The Breakfast Club is where I've got it. I love that. That's awesome. So what did it look like for you when you were looking to do your first deal? Did you go out and you start paying for postcards, or did you just do it the freeway? What does that look like?
Yeah, man, good question. So at first I was just cold calling, pulling lists using PropStream, and I had a notebook, and I wasn't even using a CRM. I would just call these people by hand on my phone, and then anybody that was interested, I would just put them in my notebook and keep update with everybody. I made tons of mistakes, dude. Like I hadn't even looked at houses yet, setting up appointments, and I would reach out to buyers and have buyers come with me to appointments where I had no contract for. I mean, I was everywhere, dude.
I love it. I think, I'm sure you probably see this too. I joke about it all the time, and I've actually had one of these people like reach out to me and be like, I know you're talking about me, but I get in these groups, these investor groups all the time, and it seems like there are a lot of people that are spinning their wheels, but they're the same people who are posting, what's the best CRM to use, right? And they don't even have their first deal. Like, they're not even doing deals yet. And I'm always like, bro, you don't need a CRM. You don't even got leads coming in. So what do you need a lead manager for if you don't have leads coming in? So I think it's so important to just like get started and find the leads. Like, that's what I tell my guys all the time. Like, I know there are people out there that teach a lot of, or have a lot of fluff content to get them through a couple of months. But I'm like, day one, you need to be like reaching out to wholesalers and realtors and getting leads coming in so we can work on running numbers together, and you can learn how to do this. Like, we'll worry about the logo and the company name later. Let's get a deal. And so I think that's so important, man. So you done your first deal. What does your first deal look like?
So what ended up happening was, I told you that I brought a buyer over and I had no contract, right? I was lost. So these buyers ended up saying, Travis, like they were a big flip company. Like I wasn't out here just bringing any buyer over. Like these were people that I didn't have a relationship with, but I had been communicating with, right? Almost like a reverse wholesaling strategy is what I was trying to do, I guess. But they were like, Travis, we see you're out here really working. You're getting tons of leads, but you don't know what you're doing. So why don't you come work with us for a little bit? We need an acquisition manager. Why don't you come work with us and you can just kind of learn the game? So my first contract was actually as an acquisition manager. It wasn't me out here wholesaling or getting contracts. So that's how that happened. Like I worked with them for like 6 months to a year. I can't really remember the exact date now. This was years ago. But I learned everything from them. Like, I learned what to look for. I learned what not to do and look for. And I just learned how to get contracts and how to talk to people more. So I learned a lot from experience. The first contract I got with them was one of their leads. Literally, I showed up there and the person was just ready. It was just a lay down. Like it was the easiest deal I possibly could have got. But, you got to think about it took me 6 months by myself before I got to that point. So I was out here for 6 months running around reckless, just talking to as many people as I could. My first actual wholesale deal, though, like my first assignment of contract was weird, man. COVID happened. And when COVID happened, my business with them kind of faded away because, everything was coming to a stop. So I went to run like online ads. I did a course with Chris Chico. It was Facebook ads. And I ran a nationwide campaign. I was getting leads everywhere, dude. I probably got 80 leads. And I was like, man, I spent like $800. And I was like, what am I supposed to be doing? Like, none of these leads, I don't know any of these places. But one lead, man, just kept messaging me. And they were like, are you wanting to do this? Are you wanting to do this? And it was in an area in Ohio. Never been there. There was only 1,000 people in this place, And I was like, man, this person's really motivated. It was a mobile home, manufactured home. And I was like, well, let me reach out to somebody in the area. So I was on Facebook groups searching. I found one guy. He was about 40 minutes away from this place. And he was like, hey, I've never been there. I don't know much about it, but I mean, it's a pretty cheap price. We might be able to do something with it. So I ended up JVing with him. We ended up doing like a $10,000 deal and we split it 50-50. And that kind of started my wholesale assignment career,
awesome. That's awesome. I have a very similar story in which like I brought one of the guys that I knew that I come up with in a mentorship program. And I got my first, I already had my first deal. This was my second deal, but this was like a hoarder house in the middle of Huntsville, Alabama, which, it's, I don't know if you know much about Alabama, but Huntsville is like a booming market. And this was back in like 2019, 2020, where everything was going $30,000 over asking price. Dude, I walked up to that house and I smelt it from the road. It was a hoarder house. There was trash up to my chest all the way through. The lady had put a rope up on the door frame so she could pull herself up she was living in the trash. And I was like, I called my buddy. I was like, I'm not going in here, number one. And number two, like, I don't know what to tell her and I don't think I can do it. He pulled up and this dude in Sperry's and shorts just jumped straight off into that trash and just pulled himself up in there and walked through. And I was like, okay, I guess this is what I'm going to have to do. And he offered her $500 for it. Like pretty much to pay the taxes off. And she didn't do it. And like maybe less than a month later, she said the city was coming after her. She called me back. City's coming after her. She's like, if you can do $750, I'll do it. And I was like, oh my, I was at my job back then. And I was like, hey, I'm getting sick. I got to go. I'll holler at you later. And we done it. And it was my first wholesale deal. And I think I threw it on Craigslist. I went back the next day to work, went to the bathroom, threw it on Craigslist, and it was gone within 5 minutes. And I put it up for like $5,000. So stupid. Like, should have put it up for like 20, but
it happens. Should
have kept it is what I should have done. But yeah, man, it's crazy. Some of these wholesale deals, man, are so crazy. We had to pick that lady up and take her to the title company. She was wild, man. I didn't always want to be when I first started, I didn't want to be a wholesaler until I figured out, well, you don't have to be a wholesaler to wholesale. Like, you can be a well-rounded investor and do different strategies that make sense, you know?
Yeah.
So you don't know what you don't know, but man, I love that. So what is it, fast forward, what does it look like now? What are you doing differently now? How have you kind of evolved that?
Good question. So I don't really assign anymore, like assignments. I will if it makes sense, or if the profit's just not very good on the back end, you know. But what I'm doing now, man, is I'm doing a lot of JV partnerships with buyers. Like, I have private money available, and I can close on something myself if I cherry pick it and I want to. But I do a lot of JV deals. Like, I have a great JV partner named David. David's been flipping properties for over 30 years. And pretty much David's older, and he doesn't have time to run around and talk to sellers and do everything that I do. So, you know, how that looks is, you know, he runs marketing, you know, PPL, SEO leads, PPC, and those leads come directly to me. So, you know, I negotiate the deal. He closes on them. If he flips them, he'll do the work. If we just clean them out, put them back up on the market, and then I get a great percentage at the end of that, bigger than I would ever get if I would ever assign the property. So I like to do that. I like to do joint ventures with people that are buyers, people that just don't have the time to go out there and do acquisitions, because I don't have a big team. I'm not a huge company. I do this full time. I'm still out in these houses myself, man. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, every day.
I love that, man. I love that. So what does it look like for you? I know you're in the hustle and bustle now. What does that look like for you in the future? What's kind of the next milestone, the next goal that you're pushing for in the next like 3 to 5 years? What does that look like?
Good question. So I want to keep working on houses, of course, you know, but I want to get into land more. I've done a few land deals. I want to get into, you know, I want to buy land parcels, and I want to put mobile homes on them. So that's really my main goal. That's what I want to do. As far as building a big operation and having employees, I don't really want to do that. I want to keep it small, keep it all, and just make my deals fatter instead of trying to do more and more and more. That's what I've realized is I was always trying to do more over the years. I wanted to do as many deals as I could do, and doesn't matter if it's $1,000, $100,000, just let's complete them all. I've come to realize that those cheaper deals are usually the ones that cause the most problems, and that I want more quality. And I do see myself maybe finding like one person that could be maybe like an acquisition manager for me. Eventually, in the next year or two, maybe start looking at these houses for me. So I'm not out here looking at all these cat P houses, you know?
Right, for sure. No, I think I agree with you, because we started to build up this big team. We had the office, we had the utilities, the Wi-Fi, all the crap. We had employees, a couple of acquisitions guys, VAs, and all this. And we just took a step back and we were like, man, we got to figure something else out, because this is killing us. Like, we're hustling our butts off trying to, everybody's getting paid except for us. And it's like, what's going on here? So we took a step back and we just like cut everything and started working on building portfolios. And dude, like, it's so crazy, like, what you can accomplish with a smaller team that's like just knows what they want and is driven, than building up this huge machine, right? I mean, it only takes like one or two good people and maybe a VA, and like, dude, you can but the thing is like, you've got to be laser focused. You've got to know what you're doing. Like, you've got to know where you're going, and you've got to give the team. I've been reading this book called Vivid Vision that Tom referred me to. And it's like, you've got to have such a vivid vision, and your employees have to know it, and they've got to know what direction you're heading, because they want you to be successful, because they want the business to be successful, because they want to get paid, right? And so like, if you can do that, if you can draw that picture for them so vividly that they know what they're going for, like, it's just a completely different animal. I've started to put that into place, and it's like, slow down, cut the things that aren't working, that are just like killing you, or taking up your time, that don't need to be, and start laser focusing in on what is bringing in the money, right?
Yeah.
It's been so good.
Love it, man. Yeah, that's definitely going to read that book. I don't think I'm the best leader. I think that's probably a confidence issue, and maybe that's why I do a lot of this work myself still. But I'm working on it, man. Every day is a day of progress, not perfection. So I'm just making progress every day.
That's it, bro. That's it. Nobody teaches it. That's the thing, is like me and you, like, and the people like us, we're just normal. I like the way the Bible says it, right? We're normal, uneducated men, just fishermen, pretty much. And we're hard workers, but the people who aspire to do more, they go out and they start this business because they know how to work, but they don't know how to run a business. And if they can make it through figuring out how to run the business, then they've got to make it through figuring out how to lead other people to run the business. And that's like, it's just a whole nother level every time you want to go upwards. And I think the first time I built out and had employees, man, I was not good at training. I wasn't good at casting good vision. I just said, here's the phone, dial, and listen to some of these Brent Daniels YouTube videos, how to sell, and so I would listen to their phone calls and stuff, but I wasn't good at selling back then either. So, it is what it is. But yeah, I think it just comes with the experience. It comes with like not giving up and working your way through every level. As long as you're not giving up, you're getting, like you said, you're making progression every single day. And that's eventually going to turn into what you're seeing in the future, So I love that, man. What do you attribute a lot of your success to?
Good question, man. I think my resilience. I've been through a lot in my life. I've been through a lot of struggles, troubles, and just my ability to look at that fear and look at it in the eye and just keep going and use it to fuel me. I believe that that's my biggest strength, man. And also all the people I'm around. That's the biggest thing too, without my JV partners, without the guys in the flip company when I first started, I don't believe I would be as far as I am. And I contribute a lot of my success to working with others. I'm not one of these guys that's out here trying to do it all on an island by myself. I understand that, hey, when a storm comes, like I can't get the food, get the shelter, and do everything that I need to do on this island, right? Like I need people to help me. So yeah, man, but my resilience and the people around me.
Dude, it's so important, like having people around you. Like I made a Facebook post the other day about just what's stopping you from doing your first deal. And one of the guys that I've actually been talking to about joining our program, he was like, just the fear of failure. And dude, the amount of people who commented on it and was like, especially coming from our group, it was really interesting. But it's just like, fear is a part of it, man. Like you can't let that stop you, because like my fear is that I'm going to be like, your fear should be that you're in that same place when you're 70 and you're like, crap, I wish I would have done something with my life. Right. That's what scared me anyways. Which I know not everybody's the same, but it's terrifying. And like, when I was in the factories, when I was working in the factories, I seen men that were 60, 70 years old, especially going through COVID. They lost their entire retirement, going through COVID. It was a huge shock to me. And like some of the men that I looked up to who were mentoring me, like really pushed me into real estate because I seen what was happening to them. And I'm like, there's no way that I'm going to be doing this for the rest of my life, So that's super important to make sure, you're not letting fear stop you. There's help in having a little bit of fear, I think, because that you're doing something that's uncomfortable, but you can't let it stop you. And you got to have the right people around you to encourage and sharpen you and not discourage you. I always say this when I say the sharpening conversation is like, when iron sharpens iron, people will water that down, because when iron sharpens iron, there's heat, there's friction, there's metal shavings falling off. Like it's not a pleasant thing sometimes. So we got to set our pride to the side and be able to receive feedback and change, make those changes and be encouraged by that. But yeah, that was kind of a tangent. I don't know how I got off on that, but
no, it's so true, man, because if you look at life and analogies, right, there is nothing that comes from for growth without pain, without a little suffering. Like we all have to go through it in order to grow. I seen something the other day. It said there's only two people that you have to, there's only two people that like their opinion matters. And that's the 8-year-old version of you and the 80-year-old version of you. So just think about that when you're facing that fear. Like, you got to make your 8-year-old you proud, and you got to make that 80-year-old you proud. You don't want to think back on the last decades of your life and say you never went for it because you're afraid.
Yeah, I love it, man. Well, man, we're coming up on time. How can people reach out to you? How can they talk to you? How can they JV with you? What can they do?
Yeah, man. I appreciate you having me on here, man. You guys can call me, text me, 304-444-6744. Anytime, send me a text. And you can also find me on Facebook at Travis Goodwin, or YouTube at Travis Goodwin WV.
Love it,
WV
man.
is in West Virginia.
Love it. Love it. Well, dude, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for having me on your podcast. And, man, I look forward to doing some more stuff with you for sure.
Yes, sir, man. Let's get out here and let's change the world.
Let's do it. Hey, guys, if you heard something that you liked and you're like, man, I'd love to be a part of what these guys have going on, I'd love to do what they're doing as well, go to ascendyoursuccess.com and fill out a form. And I talk to everybody that fills out a form personally, and I'd love to be able to help you. But whether you're in or you're out, we'll see you on the next one.